Hey, how's everybody doing? My name is Deviant Olaf. Some of you see me online. Many of you probably have not. Civilian ally, but connected to many folk in the sex work industry across a broad range of disciplines. My own personal discipline, however, is physical security. I am known sometimes as a lockpicker, as a covert entry specialist, as a general all-around professionally dangerous person, as my wife likes to say. But that is true. I run a covert entry team. I am tasked with getting into and out of spaces in a way that doesn't do too much damage, but absolutely gets me into all kinds of unauthorized situations. And I do it legally because that's what my company gets hired to do. It's a bit of a dated reference at this point, but anyone who enjoyed the Robert Redford film Sneakers back in '92 with Sidney Poitier, Dan Aykroyd, the late River Phoenix, they break into places to see if anyone can break into those places. That is what my team does. We get hired by medical companies, by data centers, by big and small businesses, and we enjoy it very much. But how this translates to our topic today is involving if you are in a particular place, a place that maybe is supposed to be protected from outsiders. Just how protected is it? How hard would it be for a person of perhaps a lot of skill and knowledge, or even just minimal skill and knowledge from what they've gleaned from the internet? How hard would it be a person to make their way up down from the street level in an unauthorized fashion to, let's say, a really nice high-rise building space? Maybe you have imagine a penthouse office suite or a nice hotel room or an apartment where you might think, okay, we're really kind of insulated from the people in the street and everything down below. There's all these different layers of access. What would it take for someone to get past those layers of access? You might be surprised to learn that the answer is often not much. So let's think about this, right? Let's think about at the street level, right? Someone's at the curb, they want to enter a building. There's a lot of ways to get into a building. I'm happy to talk to you about the ways that I get into buildings all the time, most of which involve exploiting really simple mechanical problems with doors, attacking the door latches. See these three little tools right here? Simple kind of flat screwdrivers or this hook in the middle called a traveler hook. My favorite tools for getting through locked doors. Doors that you're not supposed to be able to open, but in a situation like this,
a locked door.
This is a municipal water pumping station. This is a water facility for a city, and I'm right off the street. I can get into their infrastructure. This door is locked. Let's see that again. So this is a locked door. Reach in, and I'm going to attack that latch and pop it open. Loads of doors are exploitable in this fashion. Here's another office environment, right? Locked door. I'm not going to play with the lock or anything like that. We're just going to reach in and spring that latch out of the way. Let's look at it from the other side. In all of these instances, by the way, I shouldn't be able to do this. Reaching in with a little hook tool or a lloyding tool or a shimming tool to attack that latch, that shouldn't work. Maybe you live in a building where a door is like this, where it shouldn't be this easy to exploit. Let's talk for a second, if you want to protect yourself. Let's talk about dead latches. All modern doors, especially facing the street, should be what are called dead latches. And what is a dead latch? Here's a nice little door latch. This kind of looks like hardware you may see on your own homes, right? This part I've highlighted in yellow. That is the latch. That is what holds the door shut. It sticks into the door frame. If someone leans on the door or pushes on the door, it will not open. And many of you have seen plenty of doors that only have that element, that latch. But a lot of doors have more. Most doors, exterior doors, have an extra little piece, sometimes called the dead latch plunger or the guard bolt or the dead latch engaging mechanism. What this does, most people may not realize. Have you seen a little piece like that on your doors or on your building's doors? That is what makes a dead latch work. When the door is shut, that little piece, that extra guard bolt, is not supposed to be sticking out into the strike plate. It's supposed to be held back by the door frame and the strike plate. It's supposed to be pressed in. When that little guard bolt is pressed inward, the latch is now dead. You can't reach in with a hook or a piece of plastic or a credit card and mess around with it. That's how a dead latch works. The problem is door fitment. With the wrong door fitment, the wrong door hardware, and this is increasingly a problem across this world with electronically controlled doors. The wrong door fitment makes dead latches not work. This is me getting into a medical company server room. Look at the strike plate. Look at the door frame and that giant hole in the strike plate. That's not the original door hardware. This is a keycard access door. Many of you might have a little, boopy card that you use to get into your apartment building, or a little fob that gets you a home or gets you in the gym. Many people might use, a hotel key when they come in and out of nice hotels. Instead of just pulling on the door, it's locked until you have the key. Adding electronic locks to doors can sometimes make them vulnerable to these kinds of attacks. What about gaps in between the doors? Maybe you have a big double door, right? If there's a gap running down between those two doors, I can reach in and exploit it. This is just a bent rod. This is me reaching through at 2 in the morning when this office building is shut, and reaching through and just smacking that door handle from the inside. I'm outside, I yank a big rod and I just crash into it. I hit the crash bar. That door has to open by code. That's a panic exit device. That will open that door. Now, some of you might be looking at this and you say, okay, you said it was 2 in the morning, Deviant. I see something else in this image. Why the hell did they not, lock the deadbolt? Like, there's a deadbolt on that door. Why are they not doing that? Well, that could be something that you can argue with the client about. Or we can talk about the fact that almost all deadbolts are going to have a thumb turn on the inside, right? You can't have 2 keys on either side of the door. That usually violates fire code. A thumb turn is good for me. Why? Well, because if there's a gap in that door, my team and I can use a tool like this. What is this? This is a thumb turn flipper tool. I can slip this through the door and literally grab the deadbolt's thumb turn from the wrong side of the door and manipulate it. We know a ton of people who are firemen, first responders, EMS. This is what people use if someone is on a first responder crew and they need to get into a building and it's locked, reaching through. They're not going to break the glass. This is a fire personnel right there. Just flip, there we go. And that's nice and opened. I have done this, absolutely, in big office buildings that were locked. Here I am down at the street level. You can see this building is secured for the evening. But if I reach in with a thumb turn flipper tool from the outside, I can see what I'm doing, I can see where the thumb turn is, and I can manipulate it. These tools aren't widely talked about in the public sphere, but they exist. And nefarious people, kind of weird people on the internet who want to get somewhere they don't belong, they can understand this sort of content. They are not the ones who are supposed to be ordering these tools, but they're out there. So I mentioned electronics, right? Electronically controlled doors, keycard access doors. I do a whole talk about exploiting electronic security if you want to get into access controls. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about low-level attacks. Here's a hotel that's locked at night. I don't have the key. What do I have? Well, I have a little brochure from the lobby there, and that vestibule brochure that I stuck under my arm, I waved it through the gap of the door, and all of a sudden the door popped open with no key needed. I am exploiting a sensor on the inside of the door. If you can trigger a motion sensor alert on the inside, many doors will pop open. Again, here are some more first responder folk that we work with and have trained. They are popping open these locked doors from the outside, and they're doing it incredibly quickly with super simple tools. What is the super simple tool? You see this sort of cloud of air, and then all of a sudden the door pops open? This is what they're using. A can of spray duster. If you flip it upside down, that propellant inside will blast out and will boil off and cause a cloud of vapor on the opposite side of the door. If that is an electronically locked door, and that door has a sensor on the inside, bam, that door is now open. Walk around and start looking at the doors that you pass on a regular basis. How many of them will you spot that have these sort of sensors on the inside? These are called, if you're curious, REX sensors, or request to exit sensors. They are super ubiquitous. They are all over the place, and most of the time, electronically controlled environments are configured so that any type of motion, even a cloud of gas from a can of spray air, is enough to trip the system and allow that door to operate freely. Now, if you don't have a can of spray air, you could be a jackass like me, walking around Montana late at night, you stumble out of the bar holding the whiskey in your hand, and you tell your wife, hey, this is going to be cool, watch this. And before you know it, she has her iPhone out, and you go, spray a little gas right through, and that's a bank. That's just me opening a bank in the middle of the night because, again, I can trigger motion on the inside of that door. These are low-tech attacks that are completely feasible. Look around at the buildings you inhabit and the buildings you visit. See how many of those doors automatically unlock when you approach them from the secure side. It's a good chance someone can exploit them from the outside. How about another type of electronic control on the outside of a building? Intercom systems, telephone-based often intercom systems, boxes that look like this. Here's one by Linear. There's other brands. Linear is a hugely popular brand in the field. And it just so happens you can see this, okay, you can dial the front desk or you can dial other residents and I can open the building, I can get in. But what else is on this unit? Well, there's a nice little lock right on the front of it, right? It's a cabinet. It's a mechanically operated cabinet door that contains all the electronics. Would it surprise you to learn that most manufacturers all have the same key? So I said that's a Linear brand unit. Well, see that key with the little silver blade and the big black head on it? That is the key to all the Linear units. And if you have that key, you can unlock all the Linear units you come across out on the street. Anyone can order this key. It's not a restricted key, right? Here I have this key, and I'm driving up to a gated community. This gated community has a security, checkpoint area where you're supposed to call whoever you're visiting. I said, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to use this key that's less than $10, reach inside the box, activate the unit just by pressing a button, and that will open the gate and allow me just to drive right in without interacting with any security, any authentication, any staff. If you have units like these on the front door of buildings where you work or where you live, they might not be affording the same degree of protection you expect them to. Here's another brand, Door King. See those giant big AZ call, those big 3 buttons? You can spot them from across the street. Instantly tell if someone has a Door King unit. Different brand, same problem. Same key opens all Door King units. Is the Door King key restricted? No, it is not restricted. Here's a Door King unit on the wall. Let's go ahead and use our easy to get key. There's all the electronical bits on the inside. Now you might think to yourself, well, a street criminal or someone who's kind of like a stalker isn't going to learn how to do all these electronic things. It's not that hard. If you look at any little manual, this knowledge is out there on the internet. You can know which button to press or which contacts to jump. Once this unit is unlocked, there is no protection to this door. I have full control of the door relays and the door interlocks right there at the circuit board. So here we have our cheapo key that has opened this. This back door to this large office building was locked and now no longer is. This is the kind of stuff I do all the time, and it's how I see the world when I walk around perimeters. Let's say you're inside. All right, you've got to get upstairs though, right? We've got all these floors between me and potentially where I want to go. Maybe you have an elevator. Maybe that elevator has restricted controls on the different floors. A lot of elevators do this, right? Posh hotels or certain even office buildings and apartment buildings, you might need to have a key, a room key or a security badge of some kind to authorize movement in that elevator. Well, what did we just talk about with key-to-like systems? Would it surprise you to learn that many elevators are key-to-like? All elevators from the factory are keyed with the same keys by brand. Most buildings don't change this. So here I am in an elevator. I can go to lower floors. I can't go up to the cool floors, up to the top penthouse level. But with this default key, card reader, off. I've disabled the card reader with the flip of a switch. I now can go to that floor. And just to look like I belong there, I can put everything back the way it was. And now, I'm just a person riding in the elevator. Anybody who gets on and off that elevator says, oh, that person, he must belong here. He's clearly going to the 33rd floor. I see it's lit up right there. These are problems in our security, in our world. There's other people getting on the elevator with me right now, and they don't notice a thing. They don't think that I'm doing anything wrong. I just look like I belong there. This is how I and other people move around buildings nefariously. So that's the elevator right there, that little panel, that locked panel, standard key. This is an Otis elevator if you're curious. The BGM30 key is the key that I could just order off the internet, flip the access control codes off, and many elevators include security lockouts that are controlled by a simple key switch. Security on, security off. These are not hard keys to get. That's not even getting into the fact that there are what are called special modes of elevator operation, priority services, blue, code blue or independent service. These are all ways that lockouts can be overridden by maintenance modes or by first responders. Fire keys, right? If I have the fire keys for a building, I can make the elevator be my servant every which way from Sunday. Doesn't matter what lockouts there are on the floors. If the elevator thinks I am a first responder and I say I've got to get up there right now, I can take over the whole system. Now, this is a lot of keys, right? There are a lot of keys and key switches out there, but they are known. These, if you Google like elevator hacking, there are people, I'm one of them, who have been raising the alarm about this for years in the industry. And there are still the same keys being used over and over and over in buildings across this country. So all of a sudden getting upstairs, there were all these lockouts. Oh, I thought the elevator would protect me. No, your elevator is not a security guard. So now let's say you're even further up in the building. Let's say you're on the target floor and you're at the door. You want to get into this apartment or into this office space or into this secured room. What can you do then? Some attacks are massively simple. If the door is an inward swinging door, then you don't have as much room to work. If the door is an outward swinging door, you might be looking at the hinge pins. Maybe the hinge pins are able to just be popped off with some basic hand tools. And that door, you can just walk away from the frame. Now, this is a little bit bulky in my opinion, taking a screwdriver and a hammer and all that. That's why I don't roll like that. I use small little strike tools like this. This is called a hammerless hinge pin tool. Smack, smack, smack. I can pop hinge pins out with something no larger than a pen. And again, you might say to me like, Dave, I mean, why the hell would the door, that seems backwards to me. Every hotel room I've ever stayed in, the doors swing inward. Yeah, small rooms, the doors often swing inward. Other places, if something is an area of assembly, if it can accommodate more than 50 people, like most office environments or most large suites, those doors, by code, have to open outward to allow egress in emergency. That means the hinges are facing outward. Is there a solution for this? Of course there is. There's solutions for everything, I'm telling you. These aren't hard fixes. Most of them are small mechanical tweaks. There are things called security hinges. You can have a peg or a little post that when that hinge swings shut, the door closes. It doesn't matter if you pop those hinge pins from the outside. That door is not moving away from the frame. That's what that peg and the hole are there for. If you don't have a security hinge, but you wish you did, there are these tools called jamb pins. These little jamb pins, what do you do with jamb pins? Well, you can remove one or two screws from your hinge and replace them with jamb pins. Then you can remove these screws from your hinge and replace them with nothing. Congratulations, you've just made a security hinge. There you go. Some hinges, by the way, and look for this in hotels and other commercial spaces, some hinges will have a little set screw on the inside. That's called a captive pin hinge. You can't, from the outside, knock that hinge pin out, no matter how hard you hit it, unless from the inside you've reduced that spring pressure, that screw pressure. So maybe you have captive pin hinges. Good on you if you do. If you don't, there are solutions. Where is this door, by the way? Got a nice kind of gray, taupe, neutral colored environment, cheap wallpaper. Where do you think it is? Yes, this is a hotel. Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of hotels will have these kind of hinges. A lot of hotels will have a lot of different problems, though. So maybe someone's going to get in the room because they've copied a key. And you'd be like, well, come on. I mean, if someone copies a key, that's obviously they've stolen my keys. Well, maybe, maybe not. There's a lot of ways to copy keys. Yeah, you could borrow someone's key for a second, sneak it away from them, and then take it to a locksmith or a kiosk at the local hardware store. But what if you, the legitimate owner, just left your key sort of sitting on a countertop for a second, and someone took a photo? Look at this. This is a photo of a key that I took badly with a cell phone, just bloop really quickly. I can take that photo. I can load that into an image editor tool with some measurement lines, stretch it, straighten it out, and then I can say, okay, what's the depth of these different cuts on the key? Okay, well, this first position, that's cut to a 5 depth. Manufacturers have specific depth values, and there are lots of optical decoding tools that exist now to do exactly what I'm doing here. We have walked up to the front desk and interacted with guards and said, hey, I'm here to meet Jim. Are they supposed to be Jim and Sam? I don't know if she's in the office yet. She's his boss. And I'm taking pictures of keys on the table. And then I'll call them back. Don't worry. They're not answering right now. I'll get back to you. And I walk away. And there we are. I can have all the key bidding data that I need to then go home and originate my own key, come back later when the guard's not there. And then I can operate all the doors. This is especially prescient in my mind when, back before the pandemic, of course, my wife and I would take Lyft all the time to and from airports, right? A lot of Lyft drivers out there. They have their keys just dangling right there in front of everyone for the world to see. If I take a photo of this person's keys or this person's keys, I can zoom in on that photo. That's enough information for me to make this person's key after I've been in their car. Think about that kind of thing. Think about where your keys are exposed to the prying eyes of others. Even if they don't lay hands on them, you might be leaking information about your keys in a bad way. Or there's like this, where it's a really bad way, right? This is an Airbnb listing that literally has the keys in the photo. This is a person who is proud of a new job they got. And they say, oh man, I got a new job, got all these awesome keys that I can walk around this giant convention center. That's not good. It's especially not good if you zoom in on this on the internet, you would see something like this as well. Keys that have numbers stamped right on them. Look at these keys. We've got, what's it say, 86555 and 228333. What do you think those are? Remember our measurements? Look at that. 86555 22833. That's the direct bitting code. No special measurement tools or Photoshop skills needed. I can just snap a quick picture or just mentally notice the numbers on someone's keys and make those keys later. This is more common than you would expect. Visible key codes are stamped on the bow of many people's keys, and if your keys are just around and someone glances at them, that's enough. So please, you wouldn't hold up, I think, your ID just on the internet. Someone's like, hey, show me your driver's license. You shouldn't also hold up your keys. Don't let people photograph them easily. Don't let people observe your keys. They are sensitive. Speaking of selfies and sharing information on the internet, by the way, there's one more note about that. And it has to do with cell phones and what cell phones show and don't show. Look at the folk in this image. They're down in Florida. They're Chloe and her friend are going to watch a rocket launch. But do you notice, deploys before boys. She's a software gal in her shirt. It's backwards. Do you notice this shirt? Right on, fuck Fosta, fuck Sesta, but it's backwards. That leaks information because that tells me this is examples of people using images that are captured on an Android phone. By default, many Android phones do not reverse the image correctly when you take a selfie. Almost all iPhones do. This gives a potential person, if you're sharing social media photos, this person might say, oh, they have an iPhone. An iPhone's very secure. Or they have an Android phone. I wonder if it's not as secure. I wonder if they're not using correct locks on their Android phone. Or heaven forbid, what if authority figures are trying to build a profile of someone? They can tell, oh, this person, oh, Android, maybe we can exploit that if we do this or that. Maybe they can't. Android voices iPhone, think about it. But ultimately, just think about keeping your keys covered up, right? This is something that I have, for my keys. It's not because I'm trying to be super security conscious about it, right? But if I have this little blade cover, this little screwdriver utility blade thing, and it slips over my keys, when they're hanging on my belt or when I plonk my keys down, my keys are usually covered up so that people can't take a look at them. And I always have a little tiny screwdriver on me and a bottle opener and things like that. Let's say someone doesn't get your keys, though. Let's say you're in that nice, posh hotel on the top floor. You have a room key card. You've never let it out of your sight. It's always in your pocket. There's ways to capture electronic key cards, but not for your average attacker. This, however, absolutely is something your average nefarious person would know about and could exploit. Under-door attacks. Most door handles today. Think of the last time you've seen a door knob. Do you see door knobs? No, you see lever-style door handles because they are operable by people with reduced tactile grip function. They are reduced, visual function. If they can't see, it's an emergency. They're trying to get out in a burning building. Lever-style door handles are the norm by code. Lever-style door handles are very exploitable with what tools, like the tool I'm about to use here. This is an under-door attack. I'm coming up to this door, and they're saying he's not, what is he not? He's nowhere near the key card reader, he's nowhere near the lock, and all of a sudden that door just popped open. And we were filming for a TV show, and they said, can you do that again but slower? That was way too fast. That was insane. You just opened the door. Let's look at this. Let's look at this hotel here. What's happening? This is a locked hotel room, but from the outside, I'm inserting a long rod with a string. I can loop it over the handle, and then from the outside, give that string a yank. That hotel room is now open. That is a really low-tech attack. A string and a rod. Now, are there defenses against it? Yeah, sure. You can put shrouds or guards around your door handles on the interior side. You can have door handles that are mounted facing the wrong way, facing downward. If you've ever been in a hotel like this, where the door handle, that's because of underdoor attacks. Hotel owners know about this. I was at a hotel once where they had a little, we call this the albino alligator, was protecting the door. And I asked the owner of the hotel, I was like, just curious, have you had a problem with like room break-ins? I know San Francisco has got a lot of, it's like, oh yeah, dude, people breaking in, stealing laptops and stuff. We put those on all the doors to prevent under-door attacks. And I asked, like, what is this product? This is so cool. I'd love to recommend this to people so they can put it on their doors. He's like, well, you know, the closets in the hotel have those sliding doors. These are just those little plastic feet that you buy, you know, in the hardware store. They just guide the doors. That was it. A $4 or $5 part. This person affixed to the inside of the door completely stymies the under-door hooking attack. If you want to mitigate this attack and you're in a hotel, here's the cheapest way to do it. If you're a fan of the Douglas Adams books, right, Hitchhiker's Guide, always know where your towel is. This is where my towel is when I'm in hotels. I grab a small hand towel from the bathroom, roll it up, shove it behind the door handle. Under-door tool is going to have a much harder time slipping under there, jamming into it, if I'm home or even if I'm not home. If I leave that door handle wedged with a towel, I have a pretty good shot of someone not using an under-door attack easily against me. Now, we talked about electronic keys, right? Electronic keys and credentials. We're not going to get too deep into this. I just said there are ways to mess around with electronic locks. Different scale in terms of the level of attack and the resources an attacker would need. But here is me. This is actually... you can see my badge. This was at the Woodhull. I was at the Sexual Freedom Summit, right, in 2019, pre-pandemic. This is me taking my hotel room key, running some commands against it, and I am able to break the encryption on that room key. I am able to then dump the contents of that key memory, and then I can copy that key. I can make additional versions of that key. And all I need to be is near the key for about 30 seconds to a minute. Now, you can see me doing this with a laptop, but there are small handheld devices that you can literally just place on top of someone's room key for a few minutes. And if it is a wireless key, if it is an RFID room key, it's possible to dump that memory and then make your own copy. Let's see if I can go ahead and use my copied key right here. So, regular room key. Yep, that still works. Looks good. Now let's lock it up. And this is clearly not my original room key. And there we go. The door lock doesn't know the difference because I have cloned that key. Now, are there other things you can do? Yes, of course. On the inside, many doors do have thumb turns for extra deadbolts, which will eliminate the use of a room key from the outside. It'll literally put the room on Do Not Disturb. Security can override it, but your average person couldn't. But what happens on the inside if you hit that handle? That resets the deadbolt because, again, for egress under code, people have to be able to get out. So with an under-door tool, someone can easily exploit that as well. What do I do, by the way, to get around this sort of thing? Well, there are ways that you can actually jam and lock that thumb turn. We'll talk about that a little bit later. A fun fact, by the way, about electronic credentials and copying electronic credentials. We said there's keycards, there's fobs. The next image isn't really to scale. Let me scale that down. Those are little sticker dots that you can put on a cell phone or on any type of other product you're inventorying. The last image here is also not to scale. Let's put that to scale right there. Do you know what those are? Any ideas? Anybody at all? You may have heard of this. Those are insertables. Those are injectables for anybody who's super into body modification. Yeah, my wife and I did this, actually. We have some very unique hands. In between the first and second metacarpal of each hand, we have inserted subdermal chips, and we can copy and clone credentials onto our physical body. So we can actually walk around and carry room keys and other things that aren't obvious. I've used this again. I use this in my covert entry work. It's not really relevant to everyone here. It's just if you're super into body modification. I mean, this is a thing. This is a thing we could talk about this for a while too.
Just jam it in.
There we go. You're going to jam it right in the hand and kerplunk. You're welcome if you ever meet me in person, or my wife in person. You can go ahead and just kind of feel our hands. You can feel them, the chips are in there. So yeah, what have we done? Well, we've reprogrammed our hands to act as door keys. This is my wife. We're rewriting one of the badges in her hand. So here we have a nice locked apartment building where a friend of ours was staying. We wanted an extra key to get in and out, and we just said, okay, Tara, you can have the key. There you go. Bam. Excellent. I do this all the time too. I do this when I'm traveling on the road in hotels. I showed you I can copy hotel room keys, right? My most common thing I will do is to copy my hotel room key just to my hand. There we go. Door's unlocked. Never leave your room key where you won't want it again. And it's also pretty sneaky if you want to have more than one room key on you. But again, we're getting a little bit outlandish there. So, embedding your electronic credentials, is it feasible? Is it a fun thing to do? I think it is. Again, I did this at Woodhull with my room, because why not? I didn't have to carry my wallet around if I didn't want to. But getting into biohacking, and if you have all kind of questions on that front, there's whole talks I've done on that. But we don't want to get too in the weeds on that. I want to send you away with one of the best solutions, bang for your buck, that you can have to improve your security on the road or at home. And it is not involving inserting things under your skin or anything like that. This little strap, and again, I don't work for this company. I don't sell this product. This is called the Super Grip Lock. It's on Amazon. It's on other stores online. And it's a heavy-duty strap with good Velcro. And almost any door in a hotel with a thumb turn like that, you can usually reliably find some kind of configuration with which you can strap this around the handle in order to jam that thumb turn. So someone on the outside of that door, even if they have an underdoor tool or a key card or a security key or the mechanical key, they can't physically get the lock to unlock. So if I am somewhere on the road and I just say, look, I don't know what's going on out there and the world's a dangerous place. I want to get a solid 8 or 9 hours of sleep and no one's coming in this room. Put the Super Grip Lock around the door, and that's my best bet because it weighs nothing, takes up no space, and it's always in the bottom of my travel bag. Now, there are some other solutions, right? Hotels, plenty of hotels have like those night locks. You've seen these, right? You've seen these in apartments even sometimes. Those are not real solutions. Most hotel management and security staff will have a tool like this. Most first responders and police will have a tool like this. Similar tools exist, but this one's called the Lock Jockey. And you can see it is literally made for slipping in the door, getting behind the night lock, and then if you slam the door closed, it will it'll just spring and pop the night lock right open. Now, you can do that with a proper tool, or you can do that with a less proper tool. You can do this with the MAID sign or something like that. You can absolutely fabricable one of these together with a piece of plastic. But having the Lock Jockey itself, that night lock is not doing what you think it is. Quick note about hospitality safes in your hotel. Does it surprise anyone that most in-room safes are bad? They are not something that you rely on to prevent anything other than sort of smash and grab thieves from getting in there. Maids, hotel staff, again, all these people have the ability to override these kind of safes. Not just override it the proper way with an override code.
Let's say you're going to go ahead and use it.
Let's go ahead and lock this safe up, right? Here's our locked hotel safe. Well, if you notice, on the front of it, this is a locked safe.
All nice and closed.
There's a little brass badge. There's a little plaque. Look at your hotel safes the next time you're on the road. You're going to see those badges all the time. That's usually concealing a tiny override lock. And those lock cylinders are terrible. What am I going to do there? Well, I'm just going to use what's called a jiggling key, a raking key. In fact, very recently, if you're on the internet, right on YouTube, there's the famous YouTuber Lockpicking Lawyer. He's a friend of ours. He showed this exploit. My team and we showed this exploit on another YouTube channel called The Modern Rogue, where, again, hotel safes, these are not hard to attack. These are not expensive tools to attack the kind of locks that you find in these mechanisms. Someone online who is a sort of a nefarious person can do this kind of research easily, order these tools easily, and get inside of your hotel safe. This is a buddy on my team. Again, this is what we do when we're on jobs, where we get to the town, we're wondering when we're going to meet with the client, we're all bored, so we attack our hotel safes. And time again, if you see that little brass plaque on a hotel safe, I guarantee you, it is concealing the override mechanism. Many times, that override mechanism is terrible, because hotel hospitality safes are not meant to be security products. They are meant to be cheap conveniences that some guests can make use of, but are not a hazard or a hassle for the hotel if they need to override them.
Wow.
There we go.
That's worthless.
Again, completely
That's
worthless,
absolutely
completely
worthless.
opened. And that, we always travel a lot of guns. Sorry if you're an anti-gun person.
that's
But again, the world's a
scrub
dangerous
also.
place, and we deal with scary people. Look for safes out there. Look for those little brass plaques. And again, we're not getting deep into the weeds of electronics, right? But my team does have electronic expertise. We have been able to hook up electronic tools to a hotel safe, run logic analysis against that safe, and dump its memory to get the override codes. Why would we do that? Are we that bored in our hotel room? No, it's because most hotels have the same safe in every room. So here's a friend of ours, and I'll just tell you, we're at the Disney Resort, right? In Orlando, we're all there for, hanging out, and we reached out, we said, hey Jen, can you try something in your hotel room? Lock up your safe, and then try this code I'm going to give you. And she filmed it for us, and she was like, all right, let's see. I locked up my sunglasses. She says, okay, that's definitely locked. And we had rattled off this 6-digit code for her. She says, okay, I've got my code written down here. All right, it's 103 something something. Somebody must have really liked a special date on Mischief Night in the 70s, I guess, when they were setting this. So she says, okay, 103, and then she very kindly pans away, because again, every safe that we tried on the Disney property in Orlando at the time opened with this override code, because it's the same across the whole property. So think about that kind of stuff sometimes. But we told them about it. We told some people at the Mouse, and they, I can tell you that's not the code anymore at most Disney properties. So what do I want you to take away from all this? Are we really thinking that everything is horrendous and broken? I mean, that's what some people will think. They say, okay, on the street entrance, well, if my door fitment is wrong, so you can just slip all the latches. Well, sure, but there are guards. There are ways of trying to secure and protect those latches. The best thing is to actually have the door fit correctly. The second best thing is to put a nice big plate over it. It makes my job harder. If you have one of those intercom systems, those entry boxes that have the same key, I mean, you can swap out that cylinder if you're the building manager, or that's not what this building manager did. They just put a giant bar and a padlock in front of this, but sure, that works. Great. In general, though, we just tell people, assume the lobby is insecure. Assume that somebody can get into the building from the street level. Well, then what about getting upstairs, right? I talked about those elevator locks. Those are not really effective against someone who's dedicated and wants to come upstairs and get around a badge system. The more effective thing you can have, there are elevator cameras. That's really kind of more for reconstruction after an incident. If they want to say, hey, was someone in here? Pull the footage. The best thing is, patronize hotels that actually have lobby staff all the day and all the night. If you live in an apartment building that has, guard staff or reception staff, you're doing better than one that doesn't. But not everyone can afford that kind of thing, so maybe we just have to assume that the stairs and the elevators are not always going to be secure. So if someone gets all the way up to your door, your apartment building, what can you do? Well, again, we talked about Jamb pins and security hinges. That's great. We talked about covering up your keys when you're out and about so people don't see the key to your apartment. If you're in a hotel, roll that towel up, shove it behind the door handle, right? Get one of those Deadbolt straps, get the super grip strap, so you're giving yourself another line of defense and then another line of defense. None of these solutions are perfect, but every step you take that are minor, less convenient, less hassle for you, can be a huge inconvenience to someone who wants to get to where you are. That in-room safe, they effectively offer no protection. Just be aware there are supervisory codes, there are override codes. My favorite thing when I'm traveling, I have hard-sided luggage. I just put really nice locks on my luggage. I'll trust that way more than the in-room safe. And if I'm out of the room and I'm worried about someone coming in, remember, hidden cameras can be your friend. Hidden cameras are cheap. They are all over the internet now. They look like little power adapters. You can just leave them plugged in, and you can monitor your room either remotely or come back and monitor the footage once you return. See if someone's been in there. See if someone's been looking for you. Maybe you have a reason to worry. Maybe you have to take more steps than that. If you're ever worried about any of this kind of stuff, oh my God, I'm not here selling you on services from my firm or anything like that. Part of the thing I enjoy very much doing is being available to friends and family, being available to anyone in the community who has questions. If you think you have genuine threats, genuine risks, please just reach out. You are always welcome to contact me. We're going to have my contact information down in the description, or again, like search Deviant and like locks. You're going to find me on the internet. I'm on Twitter, Deviant Olaf. Olaf is hard to spell. Ollam. It's Celtic. It's hard. It's my little shibboleth. If you know how to pronounce it, it's actually pronounced Olaf, not Olam. Then you're someone who knows me. Introduce yourself and you say, "Hey, Deviant Olaf, I have a question. I understand you're really cool and you help the community." Yeah, by all means, shoot me a message. Find me. If you have any questions about this or anything else, I'm here to help. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, just take care of one another. Stay safe out there. Who protects us? We protect us.